Welcome back. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And today I wanted to attack a particular talking point that we hear from the prohibitionists lately, that the use of marijuana, especially among adolescents who use it chronically, leads to an 8-point drop in IQ. You've probably heard this one. Smoking pot's going to make you stupid. God knows what it must have done to Carl Sagan. So this next story that I found really doesn't have anything to do with pot per se, but I thought it was very interesting in contrast to that debunked 8-point IQ drop thing. And it's a story that's coming out of theatlanticcities.com entitled How Poverty Taxes the Brain. And this is very interesting data and studies they did. The report opens up by saying human mental bandwidth is finite. We only have so much cognitive capacity to spread around. It's a scarce resource. Now, if the term bandwidth is unfamiliar to some of you that don't have, IT background or whatever, it's how much computation can be conducted at once. How much can your brain handle? How much can you multitask? In a sense, is what we're talking about here. So they did some experiments. These were not conducted by just any old researchers. These are people at Princeton, Harvard, and the University of Warwick in Rhode Island. And what they did is they surveyed people at the mall. Right? They went to a New Jersey mall and they randomly picked 400 people. And what they were doing was trying to find out if being worried about your bills, if being worried about your financial situation made you more or less likely to be able to handle cognitive tasks. And so what they did with these 400 random people, they had them respond to a scenario where their car needed repairs. And how would they pay for the repairs? Would they pay it in full? Would they take out a loan? Or would they put off the repair? How would they make their decision as to what to do about their car that needs repairs? But the difference was some of the people were given a scenario where the car repairs cost $150. Other people were given a scenario where the car repairs cost $1,500, 10 times as much, right? And the people who were being asked at the mall here, they ranged in income from $20,000 a year to $70,000 a year. So a good cross section of people from middle class to lower class. And here's what they found. When they divided the people by whether they were poor, comparatively speaking, poor versus rich, they found that when they had the people with a $150 car repair problem and they had to do all these cognitive tasks, identify shapes and numbers and things like that. When they had to do these cognitive tasks, when they had the $150 bill to worry about, both poor and rich people pretty much performed the same. But when they looked at the groups that had the $1,500 car repair bill, the poor people performed much worse when they had to worry about that $1,500 bill. Simply asking these people to think about a $1,500 hypothetical bill caused them to perform worse on these cognitive tasks. And the way that this story puts it, and the way these researchers put it, is they said that the condition of poverty imposed a mental burden akin to losing 13 IQ points, or comparable to the cognitive difference that's been observed between chronic alcoholics and normal adults. So while Kevin Sabet and the Project Sam people are demonizing this idea that somehow smoking a lot of pot before the age of 15 is going to lead to 8 IQ point drop, we find people of all ages who chronically drink alcohol, people of all ages who are living in poverty, have an equivalent 13-point IQ drop. Now, lest you think this is an American phenomenon. Oh, we got people at the mall. And keep in mind, we're talking about people who went to the mall, who have at least $20,000 in income. This doesn't even begin to touch the people who are living in real poverty here in America. So to make sure it wasn't just an American thing, these researchers also did a similar study in India with a group of sugarcane farmers. Now, the way that their cycle of economics works is right after the harvest, they're rich, right? They get about 60% of their annual income in one lump sum right after the harvest. And then the rest of the year, they get the other 40% of their income, and they generally live in poverty. And what they found is that during that period of being rich right after the harvest, they were snap, real good at the cognitive tasks. As soon as they went into the poverty state, it was harder for them to do those tasks. Now, the reason this is so important to us is because it goes back to that 8-point IQ drop. When this figure first came out, it was widely criticized by the scientific community, and a researcher, Ole Rogeberg, actually recalculated all the numbers, reworked all the data, and found that poverty was a better explanation as to why some of these kids had the 8-point IQ drop than as to whether or not they smoked pot. These data, to me, further bolster that assumption. We find that people in poverty often turn to marijuana to relieve the stress of their lives, to deal with medical situations they can't afford prescriptions for, they don't have health insurance. And it seems to me that those factors of poverty that would lead people into using marijuana more likely are the same factors of poverty that are taxing the bandwidth, their cognitive bandwidth, and leading to these lower IQ results. And keep in mind, this was not a causal thing where people with lower IQs happen to end up in poverty. They found that this poverty affected the IQ even if when people were richer before and lost money and became in poverty, it affected their IQ. There are so many better explanations for what they found in that 8-point IQ drop. Poverty being the number one explanation. We'll get more into this debunking in the Radical Rant. Stay tuned. Pony Boys coming next.
Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam